Hello. So week 3, we are looking at American Indians and Alaskan Natives. So some of the things there that stood, well, I think the biggest surprise to me was it was, I think, close to around 50% greater mortality rate than for any cause than like the white population. And a lot of that was contributed to substance use, suicide rates, domestic violence, and a lot of things that, so they, even though they have, I think in 1.2% of the population that they comprise of the general population, they have some of the most severe and significant numbers for when it comes to different traumas. So I thought that was very interesting. I think there's a lot of working in substance use and living in an area where we do have a pretty good population percentage of Native Americans. We have like the Redding Rancheria, we have the Pitt River, you go a little bit more north, we have the Cedarville Rancheria, we have, and so I'm kind of in this interesting area, and I grew up in Humboldt County, and so we had, there's a lot of Native American culture that is still preserved over there. And so it's something that I feel somewhat familiar with, just because I actually went to a Native American preschool. My grandmother grew up on a reservation, and there's still debate on whether or not we have Native American blood or if we have French Basque. But regardless, there was we went to different powwows, and I remember collecting feathers when I was a kid to try and make my own headdress and things like that. So it's a culture that I feel more connected with than some of the other ones that we have looked at. But in working with somebody from one of the American Indian or Alaska Native populations, there are some things that you need to consider, some of which is that just the hierarchy within the family. Elders are treated with utmost respect. As it was mentioned in the text, some things like traditional body language, or what we might think would be active listening, such as like making direct eye contact and things like that, could be considered disrespectful. So just understanding that hierarchy in the positions within the family, and much like we saw with African American culture, there is a greater extended family, and so what might be considered traditional in for a white family, where we just have like more of that tighter knit, keep things closer to home, or of a smaller family size, with the Native American culture, they have a greater extended family, and they really kind of help support each other. And there's a term that is used in recovery, is it takes a tribe, and I think that kind of comes from that. They really do. Everybody kind of comes together to help raise the family, raise the children, and take part in that. There is a significant amount of substance use in Native American culture. There are some suggestions about why that might be, maybe because they're taught it through in different celebrations or cultural practices. There is that genetic factor in that too. So like being Irish, it's in my ancestors have drank forever and ever and ever, right? It's been part of our culture, and because of that, your body kind of like builds this genetic tolerance. And in the Native American culture, they weren't exposed to some liquor in the way that, and it wasn't part of their culture necessarily in the way that it was for other cultures. And so that tolerance and just the, I don't want to say the ability to handle liquor, but it hasn't genetically developed quite the same as, for instance, like an Irish culture, which is known for, or may be known for, being able to drink a lot. And so I think that's something to consider, and that a lot of people might not consider, is that there is that biological component too, that adds to it. And there is things that I don't want to say are out of control, but it's just I think important to understand when you're looking at culture. You need to respect all that culture. You need to understand like biologically and genetically, like some of the predispositions too. And so when working with a family from the Native American culture, I think it's important to see how much they embrace their culture, how much do they follow traditional ways of healing, if where they are at with their extended family, and just kind of get all that and incorporate all of that into therapy and into treatment. And maybe like in some of the videos it suggested about, like sometimes they would have their I can't remember what they called it. It was the cultural, anyway, so they would have a therapist, and then they would have the person there who was their traditionalist or cultural traditionalist, I think it was. And they kind of worked together to help out the family or help out the individual. And I think that's something that would be really beneficial because anytime that you can really collaborate and work together, both with a family or different people, a support system, and keep in respect of culture, and just really give that individualized and personalized approach, I think can be really useful. So that's kind of where I guess I'm at this week with stuff, is again just to have that respect for the unique culture and for the more holistic approach that has traditionally been taken in the Native American culture. And another thing that was mentioned in the text was sometimes it's important to you get the most out of just listening. You don't sit there and tell them. You listen and you absorb what they have to say, and kind of let them be the one who guides the direction of therapy, and help them to be part of that process of change. So, all right, thank you.